Good afternoon and welcome to the program Moment. 2 days from now, we're looking at Saturday. It is going to be the 58th anniversary of Sierra Leone independence. I remember as a little boy when they were hoisting the green, white and blue flag of Sierra Leone at the recreation grounds now called Sheikh Stevens Stadium. It was a memorable event, and guess who was the commentator at that time for the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Service? We had John Akka, an icon. He's left us and has gone beyond the blues. John Akka was also the brain behind the Sierra Leone National Dance Troupe. But today, after 58 years of independence, what have we achieved and what can we boast of in Sierra Leone today? Well, in subsequent programs, I'm going to be inviting different shades of opinion to come and talk about all these all-important issues. But on the program Moment today, we are looking at one area in the country that had almost become an accepted norm. Do you know what I'm talking about? Corruption. But before we go to corruption again, let me just quickly say this in passing, that I know Independence Day you are around to bring out your flags, at least to celebrate Sierra Leone's Independence Day. But my biggest worry and concern, like I've been saying and preaching, is that we should know the shades of color of the Sierra Leone flag. What we came out of independence on that day, 1961, at the recreation grounds. Today, we are seeing all shades of the flag. Different green, different blue. I think this is something, after the anniversary, we should try to amend and make sure we have the right colors. But let me come back again to corruption in Sierra Leone, which had almost become an accepted norm. Well, one man whose name is riding high in the fight against corruption is the Anti-Corruption Commission boss, Francis Ben Kaifala. Welcome to the program Moment, Francis.
Thank you very much, Bill. Thank you.
When you took over the reins of the office of the Anti-Corruption Commission, how would you describe corruption by then?
Well, as you know, the government transition report, which took place just before I took office, and after President Bio became president of Sierra Leone, described corruption in the country as egregious, endemic, very, 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 very endemic. So I joined in that description to say at the time when we took off office, corruption was so endemic, and recently I referred to it as stinking corruption. And that has been replicated in the recent government technical audit, which showed in 4 sectors how corruption had taken control of the country, of the systems, of everything that we hold dear as a nation. That is really what the state of affairs was at the time when I took over as Commissioner of the Anti-Corruption Commission.
But as today, people are talking about some of the good things that they are seeing and they're witnessing as a result of the fight you've put up against corruption. What are the things you've instilled into the society that people are talking about?
Well, firstly, we have captured the attention of the population to understand and believe that corruption is not the normal, that it is an abnormality, and we have to root it out. And rooting it out requires human action. The president has shown considerable commitment to this, and we at the ACC have taken up the challenge, and we have spread the fight against corruption in a way that has really captured the imagination of the country in a way that probably had never seen before. I mean, for example, the ACC in the years before, in the entire year, would have 4, 5 convictions maximum. in just 10 months, we have 13 convictions. Even today, there was a conviction of the former Deputy Minister of Works, today, as we speak. We have been able to recover our recovery now stands at very close to 13 billion euros. The rate at which all this is happening is breathtaking for the Sierra Leonean. The commitment to pay back in the next 6 months alone is going to be over 21 billion euros. So these are things that are happening, and the people of Sierra Leone are seeing real-time results in the fight against corruption. And also, they have also seen that the reach and effort of the Anti-Corruption Commission has no boundaries. In a very short time, we have struck every institution that was considered to be sacred in the past, from the judiciary to the police to the customs department to all ministries and agencies. We have gone into them and come out with facts to the people of Sierra Leone to see how corruption had taken over these places. We have charged people who were considered to be sacred cows in the past. Some have been already convicted. So really, the fight is raging on at a tenacity that the country had never seen before. And all I can say at this stage is that we are mentally, physically, and emotionally prepared for this, and we are going to do it for the people of Sierra Leone.
Talking about the conviction of the former minister, there is a little bit of twist or story added to the conviction that you may want to share with the public.
The one where he pleaded guilty?
Pleaded guilty, and is it the one that denying the property he owns?
Oh yes, we have a property in Kono, which is his property, which we believed was his property. But when we arrested him and we then sent in police officers to this property and we took control of it, he came to the commission and denied the property. So the property is now in Kono, and we are going to find ways to hand it over to the state because he has said it does not belong to him. And nobody has been able to claim it. Even the authorities who work there, when we asked them, you work in this place, who owns this hotel? They said they don't know who owns the hotel. Who have you paid money to? They said, well, we only pay into an account, we don't know who owns it. So basically that hotel is available to us. And what people have to know, this man was the former Deputy Minister of Works. After the removal of Mr. Petito as he was Mr. Kuroma Petito.
Yes, substantive minister.
Substantive minister. For a very long time, there was no minister, so he was acting. And his conviction comes on the backdrop of certain contracts which he gave to a company, wherein he actually owned the company with his wife. And so he was basically using the company to do business with himself. So we charged him to court, and he pleaded guilty. And he has been fined 250 million euros. Even that fine is something which was almost unheard of for one count. 250 million euros charge. It shows you how the country has accepted the fight against corruption and how seriously it is being dealt with even by the judiciary and the court. But that is, those are the kinds of stories that are coming out of the fight against corruption. And we are happy that the people of Sierra Leone are following, and they are really giving us the support that we need. The president is also committed. Retired Brigadier Julius Madabio is doing his best. His rhetorics are consistent with his positions. What he tells me in private is what he says in public. That is the kind of liberty we are enjoying in the fight against corruption. And as long as we continue to enjoy that kind of thing, the president is with us, the people of Sierra Leone are family behind us. There is no boundary we will not break in the fight against corruption within the next 5 years.
The sting operation you carried on the Sierra Leone Police Force, how did it come about?
Well, we have a very strong surveillance system in the ACC. We have a surveillance system. We have a strong intelligence system. We have a reconnaissance system. So we set all at play, and we came to know that police officers had what they call logging. Drivers will go and pay 30,000 loans or 50,000 loans, and then they have a carte blanche to commit crime, and the police will not really do anything about them. They will just invite them, probably go and speak to them in the corner and let them go. Those drivers who don't pay are the ones who they fall on. So this kind of system is corrupt because that money does not really go to the state. It is not a revenue generation system. It goes into the pocket of the police officers. So once we knew that this was systemic, it was happening everywhere, we set in our surveillance systems in motion, and we knew what was happening, and then we got people who would serve as bait to go to them and give them money. And that is how we arrested all 8 of them on the spot and brought them to the ACC. And they are being investigated. We have also handed them over to the CDID, the punishment wing of the police, for the police to also take action against them. So that is how that came about, surveillance. That is how the raid against customs came about. They too, the prosecution is currently preparing their indictment for them to be charged to court for bribery, extortion, and grand corruption at the customs department at Wataki. That is how we struck the judiciary, where a fine was paid. Mr. Shiaz Moses was convicted. After his conviction, he paid 60 million euros. Basically, the judicial sub-treasury officers, acting with some other officials of the judiciary, distributed the fine among themselves. So that is how we also traced that fine through a surveillance system and arrested them, and they are also standing trial. And basically, we rely on our intelligence system to make sure that these things happen, and our intelligence system is so organized that we strike with precision. And once we strike, of course, we'll always have the evidence to charge them to court.
How many people are going to be indicted in the custom situation?
As it stands, there are 4 of them. 4 of them. These are customs officers responsible for valuations, particularly at the containers department.
What have they been doing?
Basically, they will ask, they will undervalue, they come, they will ask you to pay some amount of money. You pay maybe 3 million euros to them. So something that is supposed to be valued at 30 million euros will now be valued at 10 million euros. Something that is supposed to be valued 25 million euros will now be valued at 8 million euros. For their own 2 million euros, for their own 2.5 million euros, which goes into their pocket. The country will lose that kind of huge amount of money. So we struck their syndicate. We therefore have proceeded to investigate them. And as I speak with you, I have today instructed the indictment against them.
So have you seen any changes coming into effect as a result of the bold stance you're taking?
Oh yes. The results that are coming out is massive. The behavioral change, we are tracking the behavioral change in many institutions. How the police behave, how the judiciary behave, how public officers at customs behave. All these places are changing. Businessmen are coming to say, for the first time in many years, I've been doing business for 16 years. I cleared my goods with nobody asking me for money. Some people even come to say, I offered money, and they said, no, we will not accept money. Go and pay there. That is where they collect money. So these kinds of behavior change. Go to the judiciary right now and see how the place has been organized. The payment system has been set up in such a way that it is no longer business as usual. Even the police, many people tell you, the traffic police now, you offer them money, they will tell you, no, we will not collect money. They prefer to even warn you and let you go. These are the kinds of things. Ministers of government, some of them call me to say, somebody came and bribed me. I did not only give him back the money, I make sure I film it. Do you want to see it? Sometimes I tell them, no, as long as you've done that, that is fine. But what we are witnessing in the country is a steady behavioral change. All we need to do at the ACC and as a people of this country is to continue with this trajectory for a period with absolute consistency for a period of 2 to 3 years. This country will change. This country can change. But we just have to be consistent in what we are doing. We show to the population that we are committed in what we are doing, that we are not doing this because of any political witch hunt, that it is for the benefit of the country, and there are no sacred cows. And this we are doing now is really already producing results. And trust me, the testimonies are coming from all directions. People are saying there is a behavioral change in Sierra Leone. Some people are shocked. Some people are saying, I have lived in this country since I was born. I'm now 50 years old. I never thought that we will have a time when what is happening in this country will be happening now, where people can reject bribery, where people can look money and say, no, I will not take it. Go and pay that way. Where the fight against corruption can be honest and serious. These are things, those are the social revolution that is happening, and we are happy that the ACC is at the center for it. I particularly am happy that the President, His Excellency Brigadier Julius Maada Bio, has given me the free hand to lead this fight in the way that I am doing it now.
What does the international community make of all this?
Well, in my earlier interview, I did tell you that when the President chose me to come and lead the fight against corruption, the mandate he gave me very clearly was to come and help launder the image of this country. And I can tell you, Bill, the international community, in fact, probably we have good reputation in the fight against corruption externally than we ourselves know. When you go out there, people travel to all the way Kenya, people have gone to countries, America, England, the USA. They tell me, you have no idea what you are doing in Sierra Leone and how proud we are. Journalists are calling from all over the world, the BBC, the VOA, the Time magazine. Everybody is calling and asking about what we are doing. It is serving as a true transformation for this country. And the embassies are happy, for example, for the passport investigation we did. We did it fairly. We did not come as a country to deny. We accepted to them that there was a problem with the way service passport was being issued to undeserving people. We struck. We arrested people at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We arrested people at the Immigration. We arrested people in various MDAs. We completely busted the syndicate that was responsible for printing and distributing service passports to undeserving people. And we charged them to court, and they are standing trial right now. The international community has seen the kind of effort we have put in these things. They have seen the real-time result that is coming out. If you go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs right now, that department was on the ground floor. It was basically unregulated. Now they've taken it to the third floor. They have made sure that every ministry, department, and agency sends sample signatures for those who can sign to approve the release of service passport. Even I have given a sample signature to them. So it tells you what is happening goes beyond the mere charging of people to court and convicting them. It is the result of what is happening in the MDAs. It is the result of what is happening in the public service that Sierra Leone is going to benefit from. And it's not even waiting for long for that to happen. It is happening right here as we speak. Look at the Red Cross investigation, for example. After the fight against Ebola, this country was vilified for having stolen $2 million from Red Cross. We at the ACC investigated, and we were able to show to the world, not in secret, not in hiding, with clear proof evidence that that claim was unfounded. That money was never stolen. It is rather the way how they went about calculating their loss that was improper. And we showed them what would have been the proper way and what would have been the proper conclusion. That laundered the image of this country heavily, because it was a really sad situation for people to come and help you in the fight against Ebola, and then for them to go back that the money they came to fight you with was stolen. But when we were able to come out with clear, unequivocal explanation and evidence that that explanation was wrong, we challenged them to it. It laundered our image. So really, what is happening now at the ACC, nationally, it is being heavily beneficial. 80% of the population, according to the biometer, says 80% of the population now believe in the fight against corruption. It was as low as 40% in just 1 year ago. All the international indices are responding. The way our rate is growing in the international indexes, if we continue at this way, Sierra Leone is going to be highly reputable as a destination for investment, as an example of a country that has changed from where it used to be, and it is now a corruption-fighting country, and that many results are coming out of it. So in short, the instruction that the president gave me when I came here to launder the image of the country is happening in real time, and I am very grateful for the support that the team at the ACC has provided me. The team at the ACC has embraced, and we have nothing changed at the ACC apart from me coming in, but we were able to produce these results in real time. This is something which we all should be grateful about, and it is laundering the image of the country both internally and internationally.
Well, my question was going to ask you, you just come up with it, but I must ask you again, because the support you're getting from members of staff is what is making you as commissioner. Because without them, you would not have been doing what you're doing.
Trust me, the staff from the directors to the deputy directors, managers, all heads of departments, they have been absolutely wonderful. They came, I spoke with them from the heart and said, look, I have come here as a brother. I have no agenda of my own than to help this country, than to lead you in the fight against corruption. I want you to join me. Let us put away every difference, every suspicion we have, any problem, let's do it. And they responded massively. And trust me, in the ACC, we don't have time. All this thing about people coming to work at 8:30 and leaving at 4:30, come here at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. People are working. and they are not paid extra time. It is the kind of sacrifice that staff are giving to the work of this commission for Sierra Leone. And I am very, very happy with what the staff have done. Without them, we will not be having this story. Many a time, the attention is on me because I am commissioner. People think that it is me. No, 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 I am not Superman. It is these hardworking men and women of the commission. The same hardworking men and women who have always been here that have continued the work and are producing the results for the country.
You made a mention passing of Ebola funds not been stolen, as you've just pointed out or shared with the viewers. But locally, they're talking about funds missing at the Ministry of Health, Ebola funds. Have you investigated that?
Yes. This amount I'm talking about is specific to Red Cross. That is the one we are saying was not stolen. But we are not saying that nobody stole Ebola money. In fact, there are other investigations that are happening where we know and believe that many people dealt with Ebola funds in a way that were improper. But those are separate ones. Investigations continue into them. This is just a single one that has to do with Red Cross that we are talking about. So thank God you asked that question. The clarification has to be made that it does not mean Ebola funds were not stolen. But the one that Red Cross stole, specifically the $2 million, we can unequivocally say that the foundation upon which they stood to make that declaration was wrong.
Did I just talk about what they call it, forgotten, the digital audit or something that they carried out recently?
Government technical audit.
Yes. What do you make of that?
That is what I have referred to as stinking corruption. I mean, it shows how endemic corruption was. In just 4 sectors, it is estimated that this country lost $1 billion. $1 billion could make a lot of difference in the lives of Sierra Leoneans. Some of them, true, may not have been stolen in the sense that somebody took and ate them. But when you improperly use and apply government resources, it is as good as stealing it. And that is what happened. People had no respect for this country. They had no respect for the offices they were occupying. They had no respect for the resources that were given to them as custodians on behalf of the people to use and apply for the benefit of the country. And as a result, there was a lot of pilfering, there was a lot of stealing, there was a lot of misapplication, there was a lot of misallocation. But these we are now investigating, and we assure the people of Sierra Leone that people are going to answer for their actions against this country.
People are going to answer to the commission for their actions. Are you seeing changes now presently in some quarters that corruption is still not thriving?
Like I said, we are going to do this consistently for at least 3 years. Then we'll see whether what we are doing is changing. But what again I have explained to you that we have observed drastic changes. The rampant corruption that was existing, the way people thought that they can get away with everything, that expression which people believe that everything is settlement, particularly when they felt that they have resources, they can bribe anybody concerned, is changing. Because I can assure you, we at the commission, we have no mercy. And definitely we don't care about the person's resources. We don't care about who you are. We are focused on doing our job. And you see, the real examples that are being set is sending the right message in the population. But for those who think that this is a joke, let them go ahead and do. Audits will pick it up. Our investigations will pick it up. We will make sure they answer. Until they are tired, we will not get tired. We will continue going after whatsoever they are doing until we reach the end. But before we reach the end, many will be behind bars. Many would have lost respect in society. Many will be disgraced to their own families because sometimes even their families do not know how much stealing and corruption they are engaged in. We will expose them for the population to see. We will name and shame them. And beyond that, we will make sure we recover the money from them and put it back into the economy. And if possible, we'll also jail them.
It's sad when we talk about the level of corruption in Sierra Leone, how things were done. But again, let us look at the message now your fight against corruption is sending to public officials now in Sierra Leone. Are they getting it loud and clear?
I believe they are getting it loud and clear. I know for sure the feedback I'm coming from people who are dealing with public officers. They tell me that it is definitely not business as usual. There is a lot of fear and apprehension among public office. If we continue at this rate, people are going to look public office and say, no, I am not going to take that job. Because that room, the incentives that were there and the opportunities that were there for them to be corrupt, for them to deal with public resources as if it's their personal property, are what we are removing. And once we remove it, you have to live with your salary. And if your salary is not attractive, you better go and do business and do other things. Stay away from public office. But yes, the message is going loud and clear, and we will continue doing what we do. We rely, of course, on God to continue giving us the strength, to continue touching the lives of Sierra Leoneans to be a different people. We rely on the support of the presidency in what we do, and we also rely on the support of the people of Sierra Leone who have to embrace what we are doing for us to succeed.
Have you taken a look squarely to see what has been responsible for corruption? Something you just mentioned is the salaries are not attractive, even though that should not give them the blank check to do what they're doing.
Of course, part of my advocacy has always been to say that we have to improve the economy. We have to improve the economy. We have to improve the standard of living of our people. We have to improve the conditions of service of our people. However, Sierra Leone finds itself in a chicken and egg situation. The economy is battered and damaged. Inflation is at 23%. What do? Paying people huge salaries in a country where inflation is galloping, without first of all doing something about inflation, is a terrible economic choice. You have to make sure that you take certain actions. And part of the reasons why Sierra Leone is where it is corruption. It's maladministration. It's people who are giving public positions not doing what they are supposed to do for the benefit of this country. So, yes, the conditions of living are terrible. The salaries and wages need to be harmonized. Something is done about it. The Salaries and Wages Commission is now working on it. But we have to hold everything else constant and fight corruption. If we fight corruption successfully, more resources will be available to the government to improve the conditions of service of people. But what is the point of increasing the salary of staff and the taxes which are supposed to be returns for the government to be able to pay those salaries are still eaten by the same people? This is the problem. You see, the NRA, for the first time in the history of Sierra Leone, is raising 185 billion a week. The NRA was not even raising up to, probably, they were not even raising up to 100 billion in months. 185 billion.
So where was this money going? Where this siphon?
That is the question you should ask yourself. Then you will be able to know the cost of corruption on this country. But because the leakages are being blocked, because NRA itself has undergone considerable reform under the leadership of Mr. Jibao. Dr. Jibao is a fantastic public servant who has brought in a lot of reforms. We also, as his partners, are giving backup to make sure that people who are corrupt are weeded out. We are sending the right message by raiding the right points. We've raided customs, we've raided checkpoints, we've raided all revenue-generating institutions, including the one at low-cost building. We've sent the message in the population that public money is no longer for your pocket. It is to go to the state. And look at the results. 185 billion in 5 days. Imagine if we had been getting 185 in 5 days for 5 years. Would this country be beggarly? Will we rely on resources from externally for us to have food for our children? These are the real questions that we should ask ourselves. But like I told you, we are seeing the real-time benefit of fighting corruption. We are seeing the real-time benefit of the right environment, how it benefits the country. What we do is to fight corruption. And the benefits of fighting corruption are not even hard to see. With these kinds of recoveries that are coming in, with the resources that are being available to the government, if we continue this way, we sanitize the system. It will be easy for government to have resources to pay more salaries to people, to improve the conditions of service of everybody, to improve the wages of everybody, to improve the emoluments of everybody. But we have to hold those things constant and fight the menace called corruption once and for all.
The program you're watching is Moment broadcast on Star Television, the power of communication. And you bet my guest on the program today is the Anti-Corruption Commissioner, Francis Ben Kaifala. I guess you've learned a lot. Not only learning a lot, but maybe this is the time for you to sit up and say, I am going to become a patriotic Sierra Leonean because of the things that have been going on in the past. They've undermined the state. Like, for instance, the progress, the development Sierra Leone should have made in the past. Today we're talking about the health sector. It's not good. Who's responsible? The anti-corruption boss has just printed it out to you for you to know who are the people that were responsible for all these kind of things that we're having problem with in our society today. We are taking a break, and when we do come back, Moment continues.
Yes, taking into consideration the plea mitigation, but enough that these kind of offenses are becoming rampant, and the court has to do something to deter the reoccurrence. So I therefore sentence you to 3 years in prison.
Thank you, Mr. Jamal Jafar, for the contract you awarded us.
Oh, I appreciate your nice package. But please, next time, do not supply us those substandard goods.
Yes, sir.
If you do, the percentage will be far heavier than this.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Nice doing business with you.
Receiving an advantage for a contract is a crime.
The crime committed is a crime against the state. And we all here are waiting for justice to take its course. Thank you, my lord.
My lord, accept the judgment of this court. My client is a first-time offender. He is a family man. I am pleading with this court not to impose a custodial sentence, but in the alternative, my client should be given a fine. I rest my case.
Yes, taking into consideration the plea mitigation, but I note that these type of offenses are becoming rampant, and the court has to do something to deter reoccurrence. So I therefore sentence you to 3 years imprisonment.
What?
Welcome to the second segment of the program, Moment broadcast on Star Television, the power of communication. And today, Mr. Kaifala, head of the Anti-Corruption Commission in Sierra Leone, is going around today, at least, boastful, because he has accomplished or trying to achieve what he wanted, the establishment of a court to fast-track some of the convictions and trials of people who have been found guilty of impropriety or compromising their integrity. How is that coming on, Commissioner?
As we all know, part of the manifesto of President Bill was that if he wins, there will be a special court to try corruption. And he replicated that in his address to Parliament, the first Parliament after he came to power. And he said that a special court was for trying corruption in Sierra Leone was going to be established. Of course, being the anti-corruption commissioner, I was responsible for realizing that deliverable. So, when I took up office, in conjunction with the judiciary of Sierra Leone, we started work on this. And I'm happy to let the people of Sierra Leone know that that deliverable is already underway, because the judiciary has identified a special division of the High Court of Sierra Leone to try anti-corruption cases. So anti-corruption cases are no longer going to queue with other cases in court. They will be tried faster, with speed and greater attention by the judiciary. 5 judges have been identified. 5 very prominent and efficient judges with high integrity have been identified to sit in these courts.
And who are these judges?
You have Justice Reginald Finn of the Court of Appeal. You have Justice Miata Samba of the Court of Appeal. You have Justice Cosmotina Jarrett of the High Court. You have Justice Bintu Al-Hadi of the High Court. And you have Justice Sise. Justice Sise is one of the judges. So there are 5 of them who are now going to be sitting to try anti-corruption cases in the High Court. And this is a major deliverable of this commission and, of course, the presidency for the people of Sierra Leone.
How did members of staff greeted the news about the setting up of this special court for trying anti-corruption cases?
Well, the staff are very happy, particularly the prosecution department, because, of course, it is going to bring greater efficiency in prosecutions. It's going to bring greater speed in prosecution. It's going to bring greater accuracy in prosecution. Then the control of anti-corruption cases, because not only is there going to be a court, there is also going to be a court case management regime for anti-corruption cases separate from the normal staff of the judiciary. So we are going to have our own registrar, we are going to have our specific case managers, we are going to have our stenographers, we are going to be basically a special court within the judiciary. So this is really a welcome news for all of us, and we believe that anti-corruption cases will now move faster, speedily, and well.
Mr. Commissioner, what does this court mean for Sierra Leoneans?
What this court means is that we are going to have greater efficiency in the case management for anti-corruption cases. It also tells you how serious the current dispensation takes the fight against corruption, that it is ready and willing to give it a special court and specialized judges to deal with corruption cases. Puts corruption really in a special class, and it tells you that it has to be dealt with that degree of urgency. This is really good for the people of Sierra Leone. It's like a dream come true for all of us at the ACC, and for many who have always wanted to see that corruption, the fight against corruption, is taken seriously. I don't think there could be greater seriousness given to the fight against corruption than to have a specially dedicated court and judges to deal with it. So this is really good for the people of Sierra Leone. This is good for country, and itself sends the right message within the population that Sierra Leone has decided and declared zero tolerance to corruption.
It's no longer a secret, because in the past we've seen institutional higher learning that they have been involved or practicing corruption at examinations, even at secondary schools in Sierra Leone across the country. What are you making of that?
Of course, you know that, like I said, the reach of the ACC has gone far and wide. You know that we have tried professors of universities and found them guilty for academic corruption. You know that we have even arrested school pupils and people who facilitated them to take the WAS exam under improper exam communication so as to give them advantage. We have worked with WAEC. We did our investigations. However, I must tell the people of Sierra Leone that WAEC resisted our attempt to help them improve their systems and processes to make sure that exams are conducted with greater integrity.
So why did they resist you?
Well, they are saying that they are not part of the government. They have their operations uniform in every country. So we cannot push them to have a system that is different in Sierra Leone than that they have in the Gambia, in Nigeria, in Ghana. And they know, they admitted, the Secretary General of WAEC from Ghana sat here in my office and admitted that they are aware of what is happening. As I can tell you, WAEC exams are being sold on social media. We have recordings of people who put adverts to say, pay X amount of money, we join you to a VIP group, and in that VIP group, 2 to 3 days to the exam, they put the questions that are supposed to come. We gave them the evidence. We discussed this with them. We said, if we work with you, we can improve things. They resisted it. And you know, we have many things we are fighting. We have too many battlefields and fronts. If we have a non-cooperative institution like WAEC, in terms of allowing us to improve their systems and processes, then of course we let them continue. And the exams they are conducting right now is saddled with malpractices. But we don't want to be a part of a system that is not result-oriented. If we have to join WAEC, for example, to monitor the exams, the purpose has to be that at the end of the day, we'll put in place proper systems for those things not to happen. So even when they asked us to join them to monitor the exams, we said, no, we'll not join. Because, first of all, we have their script room, for example. We brought to their attention how porous their script room was. Exam will finish. They are supposed to return the scripts to the exams hall probably 3 to 4 hours after the exam. They will be brought 3 days later. And those very people who bring it 3 days later will make the students take the same exam over again in houses at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. at night. They put the scripts in the same envelopes and bring them to WAEC. And those students end up getting A's and B's, and they flood our universities, and they cannot even write or speak proper English. If we come in and point these things to you, and you say we cannot help you better your system, because that will make Sierra Leone to have a different system than that in Ghana, then there's no point for us to be involved. And we have brought this, we wrote our report, we have brought it to the attention of the Ministry of Education, we've brought it to the attention of the Ministry of Higher Education, we've brought it to the attention of all universities, we've brought it to the attention of WAEC itself. So whenever they are ready for us to work together to really better things, we'll do it. But we cannot be throwing water in sand. If you cannot improve your systems and processes, there is no reason for us to help you monitor your exams. This is where we are with WAEC as we speak.
Mr. Commissioner, what are the implications for the country as a whole when we have things like this going on?
WAEC is like the gateway for entry into public institutions. We are having people becoming doctors without passing the exams. Because if you cheat and get A in chemistry and physics, and you end up becoming a medical doctor, you can imagine what is going to happen to this country. You have people who are going to read law degrees with these results that are coming from WAEC. You can imagine what is going to happen to the country. You have people who are going to universities on unmerited grades. And these are the people who are going to have the destiny of this country in their hands in the next 10, 15, 20 years. It is a serious situation. But let the ministry really look into this. We have raised the red flag. We have explained. We have provided evidence. It is now for the proper institution to take steps. But WAEC is a problem. WAEC systems are porous. We have said it. We have made it clear. And if it does not improve, then of course, you can understand why public service is a problem. Because if a man goes to university by cheating, you can expect him to cheat his way in life. These are the real things that confront us. The resistance to reform is also part of the problems of fighting corruption in the country.
During your one-to-one conversation with the head of state, Have you addressed this matter with him, taken up it with him?
Not WAEC specifically, but we've always discussed generally on corruption. Particularly, the president is very passionate about prevention. He believes that the strength of fighting corruption lies in prevention. And we've had discussions around this, and he has committed that he's going to do. Prevention is very expensive. The right technology to be deployed in the system, the right systems and processes to be deployed, receipting systems, for example. Technology that removes opportunities, incentives, and incidences of corruption so that people don't interface cash. To change the economy from a cash-based system to a cashless system. These are things that are very important to the president, and he has committed to ensuring that we commit maximum resources to improving our prevention system. Because we cannot continue fighting corruption like the fire brigade. We don't wait when there is fire, then the ambulances come running in. We have to make sure that we deploy proper systems. We deploy the extinguishers. We do training to avoid fire instead of waiting for fire to control, and then we are investigating people to take them to court. So the president, in our one-on-one conversations, these are issues we have been discussing, and he's very committed to them, and he's trying to see how we can commit resources to realizing them.
One area again in the community that people are talking about, and much has not been seen the ACC moving towards, is that of unexplained wealth in Sierra Leone. Today, you see a lot of people moving around. They're not involved in any kind of form of a business, but yet still, they amass a lot of wealth. They are constructing 2-3 houses. They're driving in luxurious cars. Are you thinking of investigating people of this nature in our community?
We are not only thinking about that, we are actually working on it right now. That is why this amendment in Parliament is very important, to make sure the asset declaration regime is organized, is more manageable, is efficient, so that we can have asset declaration analysts analyze this data and try to tie the wealth of public officers to their resources externally, so that when we go against them, we go with absolute precision and we don't miss. But even now, the instructions that have been given to all investigators, every investigation that is happening in Sierra Leone, the start point has to be, what assets do you have? What are your bank accounts? So we are capable of falling on these assets at the appropriate time. But we want to strengthen the law so that we can do the job. So I am thinking about it, and we are working on it as a commission, and the results are going to start coming in that regard very soon.
How soon?
As it stands, for example, this technical audit that came out, that instruction is tied to that technical audit. Everybody concerned are also going to have their wealth investigated.
Mr. Commissioner of the Anti-Corruption Commission in Sierra Leone, Francis Ben Kaifala, we don't have much time on the program today because we're running out of time. I just want to leave you at least to talk to the people of Sierra Leone, to see how you can again talk to them so that they can change their ways and be patriotic.
Thank you, Bill, as always. You see, the people of Sierra Leone have to understand that what we are doing at the ACC benefits no one more than them. In fact, we have no agenda at the ACC apart from ensuring that the people of Sierra Leone benefit this beautiful country called Sierra Leone. That they have good schools, they have access to the resources that can make their lives better, they have food on their table, they have proper infrastructure in place that people can live a life of dignity. Therefore, we continue to implore them to join us in this fight, to stand with us in this fight, to understand the times when we make mistakes, but also to give us courage to move on when we are working hard. It is a battle that is not winnable in 1 or 2 years. Everything we are doing right now in the Anti-Corruption Commission, the effect, some of which are short-term, some are long-term. But the true benefit of the fight against corruption is long-term. Creating a country that is beneficial to they and their children. So, I am asking them, forget your tribe. Forget the language you speak. Forget what part of the country you come from. This is the time to stand with this country called Sierra Leone. When you fight corruption, you don't find it for a particular section of the country. When corruption produces benefits, it does not benefit a particular section of Sierra Leone. It benefits all of us. So let us all join hands together in the fight against corruption. We can win. The fight against corruption is winnable. It has been won in countries like Botswana, Rwanda, Cape Verde, even Senegal, Ghana are far ahead of us, Mauritius. If it can be won in those countries, and their lives are better, their conditions of living are better, we can win it in Sierra Leone. So I'm asking all of you to join us. Thank you.
Before we go away, maybe you want to give a parting shot to talk a little bit or wish the Sierra Leoneans happy independence anniversary, Mr. Commissioner.
The people of Sierra Leone are a resilient people. Together, as we fight corruption, I want us to have hope. Let hope live in us like a citadel. In that regard, I am wishing His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, his team of ministers, parliamentarians, all heads of MDAs, and of course, the very resilient people of Sierra Leone, a happy 58th anniversary. Let us all as a country commemorate this day with reflection, and let us plunge deep down into the sanctum sanctorum of our beliefs and plunge out with a fresh commitment to stand by Sierra Leone for the good of all. I thank you.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Mr. Commissioner Francis Ben Kaifala of the Anti-Corruption Commission in Sierra Leone, for taking your time and patience to come on the program Moment, and I wish you happy independence anniversary and your team.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bill. We always appreciate at the ACC your interviews, and we thank you for taking the message to the people. Together, we are a team. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. Thank
and
you.
the people of Sierra Leone, I want to say this to you. It has been said to you, if you've been following the program, that the only way you can make Sierra Leone is to stand fast, not to be negative, not to be sleeping in bed. The days are gone. 58 years is what we're celebrating. What have we come out with? Now, if you listen to the Anti-Corruption Commissioner, well, we can make a U-turn. And the only way we can make a U-turn is maybe when we're celebrating the 59th anniversary. And this will depend upon you, on the way you treat corruption in Sierra Leone. If you support him in the fight against corruption, Sierra Leone would be a place that you'll be proud of. I want to thank you so much for watching the program, viewers, and you have a wonderful, wonderful 58th Independence Anniversary. We'll be back with Moment on Tuesday. Bye-bye.